ideally organic fertilizer is supposed to be odorless, and it should not have heat in it, because that heat is very dangerous. Imagine going to pour fertilizer on your crops and then by the following day you realize that they've bent.
That would be terrible.
That would be terrible. So even though it looks powdery and fine, it's not. And how we know this is usually when you heat it and there's a lot of heat built up in there, it already tells you that it's not ready.
Okay.
So what we do is that after the frass is ready, that's the frass they harvest or they separate the larvae from. What they separate the larvae from is frass. It's not ready fertilizer yet.
Okay.
Yes. So that frass is what we now heat and allow microbes and the heat that is built up in there to further break it down.
So I'm here with Judith at Agrimercarb. She's going to take me on a tour. We are going to see how the black soldier flies, the processes that go through to get the larvae, the dried ones, and then the organic fertilizer. So join me. Okay. Judith, what do we have here?
Yes, so you're welcome.
Thank you.
This is the larva nest.
Larva nest.
Yes.
Odo. I see. Larva. What goes on here?
Yes, so this is where we have the adult flies. So this is where they do their mating and everything else.
Okay.
I think I mentioned earlier that for the adult flies, they really don't need much. All they need is moisture and some sunlight. So that's why this is transparent, so that there's light going through.
Okay.
And then we have like a setup in there so that it keeps the inside warm, moist.
Moist.
And then we have bait. So what the bait is still organic waste, smelly. The reason is the smell is what attracts them to it. Once they know that there's waste here, they are convinced that when they lay their eggs there, they'll have food to survive.
Okay, so they need the waste to survive.
So we are mimicking their environment that they are used to outside. Since we have them here, we have to mimic it so that we have them laying eggs for us. Okay. So we have the bait in there, anything smelly at all, so that they can lay our eggs for us.
Okay.
So once they lay the eggs, they lay them on we have some small cardboards we cut, then they lay the eggs into holes.
Okay.
So once they lay the eggs, we come in, we collect the eggs, and then we move it to the larvarium, right? Okay. So I'll show you where the larvarium.
But I'm curious, are they harmful? Do they attack humans?
No, not at all. Okay. So let me demonstrate. If I place my...
Should I start running?
No, don't run. Don't run.
Okay.
Yes. So that's how we collect eggs. So we go in.
Okay.
Once they lay the eggs, we check. We check everywhere. So I don't know if you can see. See these tiny things here. These are the eggs.
Okay.
So we come in, we collect. Now I can touch them. They don't bite. Like I said, they don't have biting parts. So they don't bite. They don't sting. Nothing at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that's good.
Yeah, that's very good.
Okay. So this is the first point where
this is where
the eggs are laid.
Yes, this is where the
larva nest.
Larva nest.
Okay.
So I'll take you to the larvarium now.
Okay.
So we've collected our eggs. So we are assuming that we've collected our eggs from here. So let's go to where the eggs go to.
Okay.
All right. Okay. So this is the larvarium, and I want to just show you.
Sure.
Okay. So this is the setup. Okay. And this is called the larvae shower.
Larvae shower.
When we collect the eggs, like I mentioned, they will have to hatch.
Okay.
Now, we want something that once the eggs are hatching, is easy for them to go through. That is why we are using this net.
The net, sure.
So we suspend the net, and then we have the eggs on the net. So that once the eggs start hatching, they are falling directly into the bowl underneath.
Sure.
And the bowl underneath contains some waste as well. Okay. So that means that once they fall in, they are eating. They are already eating. Okay. Yes. And for the eggs, once you collect your eggs, I think after about 24 hours, they start hatching. Okay. So if I collect eggs today, by the following day, they started hatching. Okay. So anytime at all we collect eggs, the larvae shower is important. Okay. So we keep this here, and then we have the eggs. So let me check if they have started. Okay, right now it will be very difficult to see, but I'll show you. So this is what the larvae shower looks like.
Okay, so that means they thrive on waste. So at every
stage,
there should be waste.
There should be waste. And like I mentioned, it is at this stage that they do much of the eating. They are it's the larvae that eats.
Okay.
All other stages in the life cycle of the black soldier fly, no feeding is going on.
Okay.
So I mean, the adults don't feed, just the larvae. So we have pre-pupa and pupa.
Yeah.
The pre-pupa and pupa, they also don't feed.
Okay.
So it's only the larvae that feeds.
Okay.
So at any point in time, the larvae must be getting food.
So from this point on, what happens?
Yes. So from this point on, so I just want you to take note of the fact that I said we suspend this over the waste for the eggs to hatch.
Yes.
And then fall directly into the waste.
Yes.
Now what happens is that after maybe once they start hatching, every other day we come in. Once they've hatched or we see some activity going on, we take this out and then we replace it.
Okay. For the next one.
For the next one.
Okay.
Because they do not hatch at the same time. So we have to have like different processes for that. So let's say I come in today, I realize that okay, they've hatched, I take it out, I replace it.
Okay, for the next set that will hatch.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
So when we take this out, we bring it here.
Another waste.
Yes, this is so it's almost the same thing that was here. So when I take it out, we group them together so that we know that okay, on Monday all the ones that we collected are in this bowl.
Okay.
So that means that they are almost roughly like the same size. So this is what we call the neonates.
Okay. I can see them. Okay.
So at this stage they are feeding so we allow the neonates to feed for 5 days. After the 5th day, we now transfer them into the proper bioconversion process.
Okay.
So this is what the hatched eggs look like after 5 days.
But now they are more visible now.
They are more visible now.
Sure. And that's a lot of them.
Yes, that's a lot of them because of the amount of eggs we are collecting all the time.
So the transfer from here, how do you sieve them from here before transfer them to the next stage?
So we are, let's assume it's the 5th day and we feel like okay, they are sizable enough. One of the things I would like to chip in is the fact that for our processes, because of how we want to like streamline activities and make sure that we are having consistent results, before we use this, we count.
Okay.
Like we have to count them individually.
These tiny things. You count these ones.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But then we don't count everything. We just have like
you have a sense of sure.
So we use the sieve. So any sieve, like any small window nets, whatever. There's a bigger one, I can find it. So you just fetch, then you are suspending it over something. You shake. Whatever is collected, you pour it. That one also separates. So by the time you are done, you have like a pure, just raw neonates over there, separated from the fertilizer. So this as well is fertilizer.
Yes, I can see.
So once we separate it, we set this aside and then we use the neonates for our process.
Okay. So now we are going to see the next stage.
Exactly.
Right.
So like I just mentioned, so let's say we have to count. That is for the bioconversion process. The bioconversion process is where we are introducing these guys into like our waste mixtures. Now let me chip in that for the larvae, right? We want them to grow big. We want them to accumulate a lot of the protein, which means that whatever waste we have in or we bring in, we have to make sure that we mix it together. So let's say if I have food waste, animal waste, whatever waste I have, instead of using these waste individually, we prefer to mix them together.
You blend them. So they have a little bit of everything. It's not just protein.
Good.
Okay.
So we mix everything together. Then we introduce these guys into it. So that's what we call the bioconversion process.
Okay. So, that's good to know.
So we are at the bioconversion setup.
Okay.
Now from the larvarium where we saw the larvae shower, like I explained, after 5 days the neonates have matured enough. We can easily separate the chaff from the neonates themselves, and then now we'll have to introduce them into the waste. That's the well mixed waste. Yes. Now unfortunately we are not doing any mixing today, so you will not get to see it.
Yeah.
But so this is what the mixed waste looks like.
Okay, so I hear some
the movement, yes.
Movement in there.
Larvae feeding.
Okay.
So this waste we mixed here, we mixed pig waste, poultry waste, some rice, flour, I think fish meal, like a lot of waste mixed together. Okay. And you can see that it's a little
wet.
And the reason is, you see the larvae move. So if it's not wet, it will be difficult for them to move through.
So do you wet it intentionally, or is the activity that has caused it?
So even the waste itself, usually when it comes in, most of it is moist enough.
Okay.
So if there's not enough moisture in it, yes, sometimes we can add a little water. But most of the time we have like a good balance of moisture in there.
Okay.
And let me mention that the larvae too, they don't chew, they swallow. So if the waste is not moist enough,
they can't
feed on it.
Okay.
Yes. So let me quickly show you if you can see them.
Okay.
So the tiny ones we had over there are the ones growing into this big. Yes. Ooh. So by the time the 14 days is up, they would have been way bigger than this. That would have been way bigger than this. I don't have one that is ready, but by 14
I see them
days,
in there.
Yes. So they were once tiny like that. Yes.
And feeding has gotten them this, and they go bigger than this.
They go bigger than this too. Yes.
Okay.
So for these guys are, I think, roughly like a week now. So maybe in getting to the next week, they'll be ready.
Okay.
And then we'll have to harvest it. So you see how moist this waste is. By the time the 14 days is up, it will not be powdery. It will be powdery.
So they take in everything. They don't lose out on anything.
Yes. So by the time the 14 days, you realize that it is powdery. Okay, I don't have a powdery one, but we'll see one over there. It's powdery. Okay. So by then you can easily separate these guys. So this is the larvae. Okay. Easily separate the larvae from the organic fertilizer.
Okay, so from this stage, we are just waiting for them to be ready.
They are just waiting for them.
We can harvest.
Yes, exactly. We are just waiting for them to be ready. So when they are ready for harvest, that is what they are doing over there.
Okay, so let me go and have a proper look at what they are doing now.
No problem.
Okay, so Judith, behind me, I see some activity going on. Is this the harvesting process of the larvae you were talking about earlier?
Yes, this is harvesting process. Yes, this is how the harvesting process for the larvae looks like. Okay. But today we are not harvesting larvae. Okay. But ideally, whether it's larvae, pre-pupa, pupa, it's the same process that they go through. Okay. So if you look behind you, you can see the mechanical sieve. So that's the wooden frame with the net in it. So if you watch carefully, you realize that he will start shaking. Yeah. So while he's shaking, he will be the sieve will be separating the fine particles of the frass from the pupa itself. Okay. So the pupa will be collected at the top. He will transfer that somewhere else, and then just continue the process till he's done with everything. Okay. Yeah.
So I see that you have some crust-like materials around. Yeah. What are those?
Okay. So it's also the organic fertilizer. So I think usually when we do the setup for the bioconversion, sometimes because of how windy and airy the place is, there's a lot of airflow going on here. Okay. So sometimes the organic fertilizer or the waste kicks up at the top. So it's still fertilizer. If we have a machine, we could just easily break it down to still get the fine particles. But then these ones, we will reserve them for something else. Okay. Yeah, so we'll still use it for the organic fertilizer, just that we'll have to break them down a bit.
Okay. Yeah. So what I want to know is, so like you mentioned, these have been kept, these larvae were kept till they got to the pre-pupa and the pupa stage before you started seeding them or harvesting them. Do you experience this crust in the larvae stage when they are ready for harvesting? Do you experience this crust?
Yes, sometimes. That is when we have situations where there's a lot of airflow. Like if you look around, this place is very windy, so we have a lot of airflow coming in. So sometimes, yes, we do experience that. But mostly for the larvae, because we harvest it quickly, we tend not to have these situations. So usually by the time the larvae is ready, it's fine, like purely fine. You just pour, just shake, move, pour, shake, move, pour, shake, move. So yeah, sometimes we have it when we keep them there for a little longer, and then we have the crust forming.
All right. Yes. So I also see that when you sieve, you are getting the organic fertilizer in a powder form. Is it ready for use at that stage?
Okay, so this, what we are looking at right here, is not the ready fertilizer. Okay. So this is the, excuse me to say, the poop from the larvae. So while they are eating, they are bringing out the excreta. Okay. So that is what we are looking at. Okay. Like that. So we call it frass.
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 Okay.
So it's the frass that will now compost or heap to allow the heat and microbes act. By the time that is done, then we have the organic fertilizer ready. Because like I mentioned, the organic fertilizer is supposed to be odorless, no scent, no heat. Okay.
Okay. Yes. So you have a portion where you pour this powdery substance, the frass, before you work on it till it's ready for.
We have a place where so after they are done, they are going to pour them in the ponds over there. Okay. So we usually heat it and then introduce some water just to quicken the heat, like, how do you call it, allow the microbes to, I think the heat allows the breaking down to also continue. Sure. So once you introduce the water, because it's heated up, the heat builds up inward. So
you keep turning.
And like I mentioned, from now till about getting to 3 weeks from now, it will be ready. No scent, no smell, nothing, no heat. Yes, ready for use, ready for sale.
Okay. I really love the store. It's made me appreciate what you do here. I mean, I had black soldier flies and I'm like, what is going on? But everything here is being done sustainably, which is very good. Okay, so I would like to see the organic fertilizer and pond site, and then
we can move on. All right, so we can go there.
So Judith, we are standing in the pond where you have organic fertilizer, but you've said time and again that this is not ready. Can you explain to me why this is not ready?
Okay, so ideally organic fertilizer is supposed to be odorless, and it should not have heat in it, because that heat is very dangerous. Imagine going to pour fertilizer on your crops and then by the following day realize that they've bent.
That would be terrible.
That would be terrible. So even though it looks powdery and fine, it's not. And how we know this is usually when you heap it and there's a lot of heat built up in there, it already tells you that it's not ready. Okay. So what we do is that after the frass is ready, that's the frass they harvest or they separate the larvae from. What they separate the larvae from is frass. It's not ready fertilizer yet. Okay. Yes. So that frass is what we now heap and allow microbes and the heat that is built up in there to further break it down. Okay. Because there will still be some leftover waste hidden somewhere in there. Okay. So at that, for those kind of waste there, the larvae cannot break it down. Okay. So it's now microbes that can break it down, and we activate the microbes by adding the water. Yes. So when you add the water, it's like you have woken them up. You've called them to come. So now they then come in, breaking down the other waste left in there. Okay. So by 18 days, 2 to 3 weeks later, by then you have the frass now ready. Okay. So what is ready now is the organic fertilizer. Okay. So that one, there's no heat, and then you don't have the odor. There's no smell. There's no smell.
So it shouldn't be sent. You shouldn't have any waste.
Yes, you shouldn't have, like when you carry your, even when you can touch it, there's still heat in it.
Yeah, it's very hot.
Yes. So you can't take this to your farm. Okay. You know? So when you take this and it's still hot, already tells you that it's not ready. So once it's not ready, there's no way we can move it out of here. So we have to keep working on it till we get to a point where there's no heat at all. I think if you had come probably somewhere last week, we had some batches where they were purely ready. We sent them out already. Okay. Yes. So most of the heaps you see over here, we are still still working on them. They are on already. So we keep on turning. So as you are heaping it, you have to be turning.
Okay.
So that the ones outer can go in, so they also break down like a proper process.
So within 3 weeks, you have fertilizer ready that can be used on our crops.
On our crops.
It's interesting to see that going through this tour, there is nothing that is wasted in this process. Right from the fly to this organic fertilizer, everything is used.
Exactly.
Which also contributes sustainably to our environment. So it's very good to know. I've had a very, very good time.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an eye-opener. Hearing about black soldier fly, I mean, it's a soldier, but it's calm.
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking us through this interview.
Thank you too. Thank you too. I think this is also a way of letting people know, because I'm sure there are a lot of people who have heard but have not seen.
Yeah.
And there are some people too who know, have seen, but not in detail.
Yeah.
So I think this is a way of us letting people know that okay, it's real.
Yeah.
It's happening, and it's in Ghana.
Yes,
so,
yes.
Yeah,
It's good that we can do something like this that contributes sustainably to our environment.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, you know you are doing things that are chemical free. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you too. Thank you too. Thank you.
It's been good having you.
Same here. Same here.